you mentioned Justin Bieber, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm a huge Justin Bieber fan. From when I was a teenager, I was screaming at his concerts because I loved him, and I love it's just been one of those things. I know Justin Bieber for something, and I love Justin Bieber like as a fan from that sort of thing. And when he is open about his Christianity and open about the faith, I feel like he really is doing his bit to evangelize. However, his songs are not all Christian, and I also feel like I'm okay with that. Like I don't, because, and this is again, we don't have the expectation of Justin Bieber to sing Christian music, but I feel like sometimes we put so much pressure on artists who also are Christian and make sure they're evangelizing to then just do solely Christian music. And I feel like it doesn't have to be like that. Like everybody should have the opportunity to express themselves the way they want to. And it's also being authentic and actually show, like, let's see who you really are. Like me, I wouldn't even want somebody who isn't really serving God anymore, who doesn't believe in it, but they're just singing that song because that's their market and that's how they're making their money. At the same time, I am a bit skeptical with some artists. Well, let me not say skeptical, and I'm just going to say it out now, like R. Kelly. Like I watched R. Kelly's documentary and I literally broke down in tears because of everything that he has done to abuse so many young girls. And he has a lot of Christian music. Personally, I'm just not going to listen to it. I just choose not to listen to that music because there's so much more, there's so many other songs that I can listen to that would edify me, that would make me happy, that I like them as an artist, that I, look up to them respectfully, not on a pedestal because we've already had that discussion, but I look up to them like, oh, I like what you're about, I like what you preach, I will listen to your music and I will support, because I feel like with music as well, this is people's livelihood. So like it's their work. Are we supporting their work because we support them, or we're supporting their work because it leads us closer to God and it's a form of worship, or are we just listening to listen's sake? I listen to all sorts of genres of music, and even though there's like loads of genres of music within Christianity, there's just loads of genres of music in music, and people just listen to whatever. So that's just my take.
Weller Man was #1. I mean, that tells you everything. That all sorts pops up every now and then. Weller Man, the sea shanty, was #1 last week. I think it was. It's just music could be absolutely anything and all sorts. Sorry, Tanya.
Yeah, I was going to say on the back of what you said about these people are artists, and actually it made me sort of think about, from a Christian perspective, what God's calling you to do. So as an artist, is God's calling you to a kind of more evangelistic sort of state for role, in the sense that he potentially is calling you to create more secular style music and be a light in that environment, working with people who aren't Christian and shining that light. I think you have to be an incredibly reliant person on God, like strong, like faith warrior, to be in that quite dark world, to be honest, quite broken world, and do that. But then there's also, is God calling you to, I think Nathan touched on this earlier, like discipling through worship music, and like worship leading, and then there's two very different genres there, which again we talked about earlier about having that separation, and actually both are needed. But what I really want to talk about is actually we should be encouraging any Christian artist, whether they're called to evangelism or discipleship or whatever God's calling them to, is to pursue that. And we should be, just encouraging
I think that links really well as well to, because we're sort of talking about music as a job, right?
Mm.
It'd be the same sense of, why isn't everyone vicars or nuns or monks? Whatever. Actually, well, if we were all that as Christians, no one would ever hear the message, because we're just telling ourselves, and that's the problem, right? It's a great thing, discipleship and having pastors, having worship leaders, and it can be a bit surprising, if again Matt Redman suddenly dropped a rap album out of nowhere that was what on earth's going on? And that wouldn't really serve his calling of being discipleship. However, again, calling is another thing, a different thing, I think, by the way, because first of all, we're called to be, not do. We're called to be someone. So if you're called to be a worship leader, that doesn't mean you're called to lead at this particular church on whatever street, whatever. It means you are called to be a worship leader as your personality, right, as your spirit, and you learn through that. And then and that comes first, and then you are called to somewhere else. Sometimes specifically, there's all sorts of references of that in the Bible where someone is called to go and do something, but they are first challenged to be someone. So Jonah is probably the best example of that. He's called to a specific place. Go here, this horrific place, go and do that. He says no, not because one, because he doesn't want to go there, but he's then first called to say, no, you're going to be this person. I'm not just calling you to go there. I'm calling you to go and do this because you are such and such and such and such, etc. And I think that's that's where some calling can come in. And as you said, actually, a lot of industries, and it's not just music or whatever. It could be business, finance, whatever. They're dark industries, Yeah. But also, if you then stood on the table and started preaching fire and brimstone and all sorts of this, that, the other, you're getting fired, and that's no good for anyone. You then can't make any influence there. But praying for those opportunities, that's to me, I think that's where it's at, and that's not easy. And it can also, you can be swept up in that lifestyle and in this, that, the other. It doesn't have to be worship or music or wherever. It's it's tough, it's challenging. It's not our world, right? We're waiting for heaven. That's where things are going to be sick, and we're going to have a great party with God. We're not everyone's there.
With what music, Nathan? With what music?
Actually, Ed, I want to go on to something you said. You said about it would be really weird and sort of accepting it. Kanye had this. Kanye's last album was a gospel, and I don't mean gospels in a style. It was a gospel album.
Yeah.
And I deliberately went out of my way to look at reactions that were from non-Christians, and they were like, "What on earth is this? I'm not listening to this again. This is the yada yada yada." But for Christians, it was really encouraging. I saw a lot of positive things and saying, "This is great to see someone on such a pedestal do great things." And I hope there are some people that are non-Christians that took something from that. But actually, it was quite interesting how it was well received, and it did alienate some of his audience because they were like, I want a Kanye record to be a Kanye record, this, that, the other, and this isn't a Kanye record. This is a such and such and such and such, and that's challenging. And unfortunately, you're not going to win every little battle, I think.
Yeah, Nathan, I'm gonna pause you there just because I know people may have places to go. I'm open to a part 2, people, if you want to take it there. But yeah, I don't want to keep you guys beyond the time we said. We've been here for an hour, by the way, just so you guys know if you're keeping track. So, if you've been with us the whole time, just know we appreciate that. Thank you to our panel for being here also today. Do like, do share, do subscribe, and all that good stuff that helps keep us going. You've been watching That Christian Podcast. Hope to see you guys again real soon.